Hey guys, welcome back to Tower of Fantasy. In today's video, I wanted to look at some common mistakes you want to avoid as a new player in the game. Some of these may seem obvious, some not so much, but hopefully they can help you out nonetheless. So let's get into it with the first one, which is going to be over in the shop, and it's what to spend or what not to spend your dark crystals on. Basically, you don't want to spend dark crystals on anything except these red nucleus. These are going to be what you use to summon on the exclusive, limited, whatever you want to call them, premium banner. Now, definitely people who spend a bit more money and stuff like that will be looking at getting these matricy pulls as well to get the matrices. But for most free-to-play and very light spenders, this is going to be all you focus on. I'm someone who in most games likes to refresh stamina, but the stamina in this game is just too expensive for me to warrant it. It goes from 50 to 100 to 200 and 200 or something like that. It gets really expensive and it's just not worth it. So for me personally, for most players, I would recommend just only saving your dark crystals for the red nucleus. Now, what are the red nucleus? We'll go in there quickly because it's going to lead us into another mistake that I want you guys to avoid. So when we go to summons, I've got a whole summon guide that talks about this in depth if you want to check that out. I'll leave it in the description. But basically, you've got this banner, which is your standard banner, and this banner, which is your limited banner. And on this banner, you're going to use the red nucleus. And when you get an SSR, you've got a 50% chance for it to be the rate up character. Now, this leads me into the next mistake that I don't want you guys to make, and that is summoning on these exclusive banners or these limited banners without having 120 pulls. Now, if you like a gamble and you don't mind losing, you can go ahead. But I want to demonstrate what I'm talking about. So when we do these summons, you've got a pity at 80. Now, that's a 50-50 chance, and if you don't get that character at 80, you can actually keep summoning to 120, and you can buy the character with these tokens up the top here. Now, with these tokens, you get one of them each time you summon on this banner, plus if you summon an SR that you've already got the maximum amount of dupes up for, you will get an additional one. That's why I've done 36 summons, and I have 39 of these. However, at the end of the banner period, those red tokens will turn into yellow tokens. And the yellow shop, you can only buy characters that are available on the yellow banner with those tokens, whereas the red shop, if we go and look at it, we could go ahead and buy the exclusive character or the weapon straight out when we have 120. So the reason I'm saying you only want to summon when you can go to 120 is that even though this pity carries over, you want to be able to get to 120 so you can guarantee yourself the character. If you only get to 80, that's fine. Doesn't matter. If you even want to, you can go to 120 to get them to 1 star if you're desperate for the star ups. But you want to have 120. Reason being, if you look at what I've done here, so I did this so I could show you guys what happens. So I've gone to 36 summons here. So when this Lyra banner is over and the next character is in on the banner, I will still be at 36 on the pity. However, I will have 0 of these red tokens. Meaning that if I go to the 80 pity, it's only going to take me 44 summons. But if I miss that 50-50, I've only got 44 of these tokens and I need 120. Which basically means that I need to get what is like 80, a bit less than 80. Jeez, my maths, my brain's cooked. But I need to get more, like I need to do 120 from the 36 onwards. So I need to end up doing 156 pulls to actually get to that guaranteed pity. So that's why you want to save. Like on a banner that you get the character on, just stop, and then wait for the next banner, get to 120 and go. That is the way you want to play it, just so you avoid that pain and heartbreak. But hey, if you like pain and heartbreak and you like a gamble, you can go nuts. Next up, we're looking at some mistakes you can make with your weapons. The first one being leveling up too many weapons. As you can see here, I leveled up a bunch of weapons. We've got 60, 50, 50. Honestly, I think to test weapons, you can level them up to 40. That is fine, but you don't really want to go past 40 unless it's like the main 3 weapons that you want to use. Now, once you get to endgame, you will be able to, look at other weapons and start building up other weapons, but you want to be pretty focused on the weapons that you want to build, just because we do have limit breaking materials. If we go here and I try to power up, all these materials, they're not like incredibly rare, but they just take time to get. So you won't be able to infinitely upgrade your weapons, and you don't want to be leveling up a bunch of weapons to like 50 and 60 like I did here, and then really hurting yourself in the resources that you need to upgrade your main weapons. So you might end up with, say, 10 weapons at level 50, whereas you could have had, you know, one weapon at level 70 and two at level 60. So you want to really focus in on the weapons. Like I said, going to level 30 or 40 is fine to test different weapons when you get them. It should give you a feel and understanding of what you want to do, but that it would be the number one thing to avoid is leveling up too many weapons too high and just spreading your resources thin. Now, the other thing that I want to talk about in weapons is your weapon sets. Now, this one is, we could go on forever about weapon sets, talking about whether you want to be a tank, a healer, what type of DPS. But one thing that I want you guys to consider when you are building your weapon sets is charge and shatter values. So over here on the right hand side, this B rating is going to be my shatter value and this S rating is going to be my charge value. Now in general, you just want to make sure you have at least one decent charge value and one decent shatter value on your team. Charge so that you can charge up to your discharge abilities faster, and shatter so that you can break enemy shields faster. If you just have a bunch of charge and no shatter, the enemies are going to keep their shields up for way too long. And if you have a bunch of shatter but no charge, then you're never going to get around to those discharge abilities. Now, if I had to choose one, I'd rather have a bunch of shatter and no charge, because at least you can still just whack stuff. But you know, those discharge abilities are very powerful, but just try and spread out your weapons so that you have a bit of both. So as you can see here, this weapon's really good at charge, but really bad at shatter. This weapon's just godly at both, so it's absolutely amazing. And this weapon is fairly decent at both charging and shattering. So I'm pretty well set, but you know, there are some weapons with really low values on either charge or shatter, kind of like this with its shatter value. And you want to avoid using 3 weapons that all have like a really low shatter value. The next mistake I want you guys to avoid is to do with the gear system. Now, I know a lot of people in these games like to save resources and stuff like that, and there's nothing wrong with that. You don't want to be like upgrading, you know, like green and white pieces of gear. It's sort of a waste of resources. You do have a little bit of loss in them. I've got a whole gear guide where I dive deep into this stuff if you guys like. I'll leave that linked as well. But the basic summary is you do want to actually upgrade the gear slots. This is something I didn't realize when I first started playing, is that if we go to enhance, when we're using this item to enhance equipment, that is upgrading the gear slot itself. Now, if we click this button down here and we've got to feed other equipment to it, that is when you're upgrading the equipment piece itself. Now, equipment pieces themselves, that when you're looking at upgrading, you want to choose ones that have good stats for you and more higher rarity ones and stuff like that. But for upgrading the equipment slots, very important, just do it. There's no harm in doing it. As long as you have the resources, that buff is going to stay with you no matter what equipment you put on it. For instance, if we look at this, the wrist guard, you can see I've got the pluses from being level 11. Now, if I go ahead and equip this one, which is the worst piece, it is still level 11 and I still get some buffs to it. So it doesn't matter which piece you have equipped. If you're upgrading the gear slots themselves, you will get that buff, which is really, really nice. And also, when you are upgrading these gear slots, you don't want to just upgrade one gear slot infinitely and forget about the other ones. The reason being, if we hit this little 2 above 1 on 8 thing, it's going to show you this. So basically, this says the 8 basic slots of gear. If they're all at plus 10, I get these stat increases. If they're all at plus 15, I get these stat increases. So what you want to do is you want to get all of your pieces to level 10, then you can go one piece to level 15, next piece to level 15, so on and so forth, get them all to level 15, and then start looking at level 20. Now, it is just the core 8 pieces. These other pieces are bonus pieces that you'll get later on in the game, but you just need to get these core 8 pieces leveled up evenly along the way so that you can get these extra stat increases, which are just free. The next thing I want to talk about is pretty self-explanatory if you've played any gacha games, but that is not to overcap your stamina-based system. This one here, as you can see, I'm at 360. On global, we will only have 180 as the cap, but you do not want to let this overcap. The other mistake tied into this is that you don't really want to farm too much joint operation early on. The reason being, joint operation is more of an end game thing when you're going for like the legendary, I call them legendary because it's yellow, gear and chips or matrices. Early on, you'll only be able to get like green or blue matrices, and like they don't really help you that much. So you don't want to use that. You actually want to focus here on getting your upgrade materials for your weapons, because that, like I said at the start, they're not impossible to get those resources. They just take a long time. And if you're grinding joint operation, you're not getting any more of your upgrade materials, which upgrading your weapon is going to be more important than getting some gear that you're going to basically replace within the next week. So definitely avoid farming that, but don't let your stamina over cap. On top of that, make sure you do your daily sign in, you do your kitchen every time it's available, and also you do your daily bounties for those summons. You don't want to let anything lapse. The other thing is ability training. Don't let that go by without doing it, because it's an important one to get. Now, another thing that I want you guys not to ignore is going to be the ruin explorations. The reason being, we do get a bunch of this item here from the ruin explorations. And if we go over here, we can actually use them to upgrade. This is called the suppressor, I believe. So you can upgrade your suppressor. It's going to have different levels, and basically to upgrade it, you're going to have to reach a level requirement, and then you're also going to have a certain amount of those things, which I can't remember the English name for them. But the reason you're going to want to do those ruins and not skip those is because, as you can see here, I only require level 41. My account's level 75. If I just went and did more of these ruins, I would get more of these, and I would be able to upgrade this. It gives me just basic stat increases, but then it also gives me chips or matrices. And like, as you can see, these ones are Shiro matrices, so you can get some 5-star matrices or some legendary, I don't know what you want to call them, but you get some yellow matrices, which is pretty nice. SSR, let's call it that. So definitely don't skip out on the ruins, because you're also going to get upgrades for your relics, which is going to be very, very useful. And probably the final tip that I want to jump into is going to be a little one. It's not huge, but I know some people really hate PvP, and I can completely understand that. But the PvP leagues do give you some dark crystals for end of season rewards. So even if you hate PvP, every season jump in, do one battle, and that way you're going to be able to get some rewards no matter what it is. If you just do one battle, you will be on the ladder and you can get the minimum rewards. Obviously, if you want to grind PvP, you can get a bit more, but at least do it. Don't just not even rank yourself so you get nothing. And that's going to apply to Apex League at the launch, and later on maybe in Break Fate, which is a battle royale mode, but that won't be in there at launch. So that just about covers it for the main mistakes I see people making, basically because they were mistakes that I made myself. So hopefully I can avoid you guys doing that, but at the end of the day, guys, it is a game and it's meant to have fun. So I hope you guys enjoy. I hope you guys enjoy the global launch. I'm recording this the day before the global launch. Pretty excited. We'll be streaming if you want to come in and see me, but thanks for watching. Hope you have an awesome day, and I'll look forward to seeing the next one. Cheers.